Hello, welcome to the Summer 2026 course, Poetic Books. In my presentation, I will be discussing two significant books in the Old Testament, Job and Ecclesiastes. The focus or question we will be covering is how to maintain honest hope when it comes to these wisdom books, Job and Ecclesiastes. When we look at the book of Job and Ecclesiastes, we encounter something that is often missing from the way we talk about faith. The word honesty comes to the forefront. Both books ask difficult questions like, why do good people suffer? Why does life sometimes seem unfair? What is the purpose of our work, our success, our relationships, and even our existence? And perhaps the deepest question of all is, where is God when life doesn't make sense? These are not books that give us easy answers. Instead, they give us something more meaningful, like honest hope. The book of Job begins with a man who appears to have everything. Job is described as a righteous, prosperous, and blessed man. Yet in a short period of time, his life is devastated. He loses his possession, his children, and eventually his health. What makes Job so powerful is that Job does not pretend everything is okay. He cries out, he questions, he grieves. He even asks God, why is this happening to him? His friends try to explain his suffering by telling him that perhaps he must have done something wrong. But Job knows that the simple answers do not explain his reality. And I think there's something important here for us to see, because faith does not mean that we never question God. Faith means that even in our questions, we continue to turn towards God. Job's story reminds us that we do not have to hide our pain from God. We don't have to put our spiritual smiles or pretend that everything is fine. God can handle our questions, He can handle our disappointments, and He can even handle our tears. Eventually, God speaks to Job, not by giving him a simple explanation for everything that happened, but by revealing Himself. And Job comes to understand something greater. Even when he cannot understand God's way, he can still trust God's character, and that is honest hope. Then we come to the book of Ecclesiastes, and the tone is different, but the struggle is remarkably similar. The writer of Ecclesiastes looks at life and says, essentially, what is the meaning of all of this? He looks at wealth, wisdom, pleasure, work, achievement, and human effort, and recognizes that none of these things can ultimately satisfy us. Everything is temporary. We work, we build, we accomplish, and eventually someone else inherits everything that we've built. Ecclesiastes refuses to give us the illusion that life is always fair and predictable, and yet it does not end in hopelessness. Instead, Ecclesiastes teaches us to receive the simple gifts of God, to enjoy our work, our relationships, our food, our days, and to recognize that these things are gifts rather than guarantees. The message here is not nothing matters. The message is closer to don't mistake temporary things for eternal things. Job teaches us that sometimes we may lose everything we thought gave our lives security. Ecclesiastes teaches us that even when we gain everything we thought we want, it will still and cannot become our ultimate security. And together, these books point us towards something deeper than circumstances. It points us to God Himself. There may be seasons we will not understand what God is doing, There may be prayers that seem unanswered. There will be losses we cannot explain. There will be moments when the work we have poured ourselves into seems meaningless. But honest hope says, I may not understand, but I can still trust. I may be hurting, but God has not abandoned me. I may not know what tomorrow holds, but I know who holds me. And this is different from optimism, which says everything will work out just the way I want it. Biblical hope says, even if it doesn't, God is still God and He is still within me. This is the hope we see in Job. And this is also the wisdom we discover in the book of Ecclesiastes. And ultimately, this is the hope we find in Jesus Christ. Thank you and God bless.